Good morning. I think we're starting. 55 years. It seems like a long time, but really it's a very long time. June 15th is an anniversary date for Constance and I, because it is the date that she flew out from Nebraska to come to live with me. Now, we actually celebrate our wedding in November, on November 9th, because we just lived with each other and until then here in Southern California. So we have two anniversaries, really, but this is the true honeymoon anniversary, and we hold it sacred. We've got our favorite songs and things like that, so I'm going to read a couple of things. What were you doing, dear? She's sticking her finger down her throat. Yeah.
It's a little sloppy. Lon's a little sloppy today.
I'm a little sloppy.
The
Yes,
flying saucer people arranged this. Neither one of us could help it, okay?
that's
It's
true.
not like we made any decisions or were, well, whatever.
And
I know I couldn't help it. My parents accused him of hypnotizing me over the telephone, so they may have been right.
Well, I'll explain that, hypnotizing her over the it'll all become clear too.
I'm going to get to work.
As a matter of fact, I wrote about it in a famous book that they always claim is going to be made into a movie, and yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. It was February 26th, 1967. So that's not today. This is in February. It just happens to be the day before Constance's birthday. But I was unaware of that. I was probably too busy thinking about me. Okay. I was 18 years old, and my brother Mark was 24. We sat atop one of the monstrous boulders that are heaped like petrified dinosaur droppings across California's Mojave Desert and watched the moon bury itself in the western sands. 180 degrees away, the eastern horizon split in a lewd and blood-red invocation of the sun. Shortly before this celestial orgy, we shared a mystic feast of far too much LSD and vowed in deadly earnest that we would not return from the wilderness until we were holy men. Daybreak found us shish kebabbed to death, skewered through by the sun and moon's perfect opposition, flat on our backs, emitting short grunts and giggles. It'd be an understatement to say that we were naive, but we were not entirely green behind the psychedelic ears. Between the two of us, we had at least 24 carefully programmed trips under our belts. In our pitiful way, we were serious seekers. We followed the setting guide procedures outlined by Doctors Leary and Alpert, and crammed the days and weeks between our sessions with healthy doses of Eastern mysticism and spiritual practices. Nothing, however, could have prepared us for Judgment Day at Joshua Tree. By mid-afternoon, we had blithely paddled our souls up the rivers of our genetic ancestry, stood at the very hub of eternity, and stared with wagging jaws down the orbiting spokes of all possible possibilities. It was the most deafening of unspoken truths. we would never leave the desert. Wherever we would go, whatever we would do from that point forward would take place in the desert. Our frenzied hike back to my old Volkswagen bus was a stumbling ordeal of Odyssean scale, complete with horrifying labyrinths of dry washes and box canyons, a blinding sandstorm, and the sadistic laughter of the spirits of our own tormented childhoods.
There it is.
Phone number, and we'll try to get back with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
You both
That's what I get for doing this in the office instead of...
spirits. You had spirits from your childhood tormenting you.
That's my tormented childhood spirits trying to get through. Well, screw you! The 2-hour drive back to Costa Mesa was an uneventful except for occasional highway encounters with desert skeletons returning home from church in their pickup trucks. Once home, we immediately sought dark refuge in the smoky coolness of the Buccaneer, the only bar in town that would occasionally ignore the fact that I was a minor and serve me beer. That evening, no one dared question my age. I looked 1,000,000 years old. The beers didn't help. We were still very high. The zebra-striped walls of the little saloon dripped down to the floor like melting wax, and the pores of the bartender's nose were so big I could walk inside them. Then from nowhere, I received a revelation. Not a cosmic vision about DNA or the nature of light and time, but a surprisingly normal idea. It became very clear to me that I must marry Constance, my Nebraska high school sweetheart. That's all there was to it. I converted a few dollar bills into coins, an act of torturous complexity that seemed to require many days, and shuffled to the old black payphone near the pinball machine. I closed one eye and plugged the emptiness of 0 with my blue-green fingertip and spun the clicking wheel of fortune. I pleaded with the operator to help me place the call to Nebraska. Constance answered. After a few moments of attempting to communicate with my hands, I managed to identify myself. She sounded very happy to hear from me. After all, it was her birthday. I couldn't believe the cosmic coincidence, but concealed the fact that I didn't have a clue it was her birthday. Then I came out and said it. Would you like to get married? It was the smartest thing I would ever do. After a short pause, she said, yes. It was the stupidest thing she had ever done. We've been married for 55 years. Now, with that little prelude, over the years, people have written me lots of emails and questions and in interviews and things like that, because people being married this long is a rarity in modern life, and a real rarity in the various subcultures to which we belong, or which we pass through or circulate in. So I wrote I gathered up a lot of these letters and my answers to them in a book and categorized them by subject. And the book's called Ask Baba Lon, and it's published by my good friends at New Falcon. And it's one of the books that it's perhaps you haven't even heard of Ask Baba Lon, and but honest, it's a pretty good book, and if you don't have it, I would encourage you to get it. But anyway, under the heading Monogamy and Sexual Ethics in the OTO, somebody wrote, I have a question for you about sexual ethics based on the order. Excuse me, based in the order. Now, the OTO is an organization, and organizations have people, and people interact with each other, form relationships, break up relationships. You're on your own in any kind of an organization. No organization is meant to babysit anybody, but that's anyway. I saw that you and Soror DuQuette were a couple, and in the order together. My question is about this. When I joined a body a few years ago, I fell in love with a man. We were happy together until the rest of the people in the group tried using sexual predatory actions and behavior to cause problems in our private relationship. I was just wondering what you do to stop people like this from coming between you two as a couple. Name withheld. Dear name withheld, let me begin by reminding you that the prime directive of Thelema is there is no law beyond do what thou wilt. If it's your will to be monogamous and it's your partner's will to be monogamous, then that's it. That's that. If your lodge members are too ignorant or intolerant to accept that fact and have a civilized relationship with a monogamous couple, then in my opinion, they do not have a clue as to what Thelema is all about, and you should tell them to fuck off and go find a nice sex cult somewhere. On the other hand, if either or both of you are so insecure in your relationship that you don't know for sure whether or not it is your will to be monogamous, it's not only your lodge brethren who threaten your relationship. Indeed, it is every man, woman, and child on the planet becomes, for you, a potential sexual predator. Call me unmagical and unpatriotic if you want, but I believe it's more important to be happy with your domestic life than it is to lead or be part of an OTO body or any organization. We've got lots of OTO friends with whom, under different circumstances, I'm sure we could happily enjoy more intimate relations. But over the years, we've learned that for us, in our particular life circumstances, the negatives of such relationships would simply outweigh the positives of the stable home life we feel is necessary for us to pursue undistracted our great work. We are probably in the minority here, but so what? Sex, not promiscuity, is a big part of magic. Promiscuity can be fine, wonderful, in fact, under certain circumstances. It's even fun to have promiscuous friends if they understand and respect where you're coming from. But please don't confuse promiscuity with sex magic, and certainly don't confuse it with Thelema. My best, Baba Lon. Okay. Under the category of just marriage, here's what I wrote as Baba Lon. I always make up characters to write books There's Baba Lon. There's Rabbi Ben Clifford. There's Stonehenge Equinox. My name is Equinox, Stonehenge Equinox, and this is my cape. Marriage. And while we're speaking of marriage and monogamy and all that, Babylon has for a number of years been legally empowered to marry couples.
Me too.
Yeah, Constance too. We've married...
I've only married one person, and that was error.
my batting average is better than hers as far as... as this is something he really enjoys doing, especially for friends. Once upon a time, a young man and young woman came to the home of Babylon in St. Constance and said something like this. And of course, this is my fictional retelling of this. Babylon, we are in love and have come to ask you to marry us. But even in our joy, we have fears. All around us, we see sadness and strife of unhappy couples. Most marriages today end in bitter divorce. The newspapers are filled with terrible tales of jealous lovers who beat and kill one another. We read that more pregnant women are murdered by the fathers of their children than die by any other cause. These atrocities committed in the name of love make us reticent to take the marriage vows. Babylon, you and St. Constance have been married for many earth years. We observe you to be happy. You make each other laugh. You touch and hug and speak with joy about your son. What is the secret to your love? What wisdom can you share with us at the beginning of our journey together? What must we do to be as happy as Babylon and St. Constance?
Oh, God.
Babylon adjusted his turban and looked to St. Constance as if silently asking permission to speak.
Yeah, sure. And I adjusted his turban.
Right back. Eventually he cleared his throat and said, "My friends, I must tell you that you will never make one another happy." He then reached for his guitar, and as everyone feared, he began to sing. Love is bigger than happiness. So you're in love and want to wed, but see, most marriages end up dead. To Babylon you voiced your fears. Yes, I've been married 55 years. Constance is the perfect wife, brings joy and beauty to my life. As husbands go, I'm not so bad, and we've both done well as mom and dad. Our marriage endures for years and years through ups and downs and fits and tears because we've learned and now confess that love is bigger than happiness. Vital to life as happiness is, hers must be hers and his must be his. The old cliche is worn and sappy, but only you can make you happy. So I say to the would-be mated, communication is overrated. Probe not too deep each other's head. Contempt is born when mystery's dead. Monogamy's not for everyone. It has its pros, it has its cons, but once you've pledged to that relation, try to be good at it for the duration. Be not too quick to throw in the towel. Don't stray, don't cruise, don't sneak, don't prowl. Chances are good if you're miserable here, in no time at all you'll be miserable there. So remember my words through the pain and stress. Love is bigger than happiness. I bless you both and wish you luck. I'll marry you now for $100.
God, you were cheap then.
How much did you charge for your...
Probably, I don't remember. same thing probably will last. Maybe, I don't remember.
I think they slipped you an envelope of some kind.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I know.
Maybe a Sprouts.
I don't know. I don't remember.
A Sprouts
I
gift.
tried to forget the whole thing.
A few years back, I had the honor of officiating at the wedding ceremony of our son Jean-Paul and his lovely wife Miwa. I happily imparted to them the secret that I believe is the key to a long and relatively happy marriage. At least what has worked for Constance and me. The secret of marriage. When two strong souls and two strong wills and two strong minds unite, there will come rounds when standing your grounds will turn into a fight. How many times a day? How many hours?
I'll have my own thing to say.
So here and now, before reciting your vows and while you're high as a kite, agree that one of you will know everything and the other will always be right. This compromise is very wise. You'll need it day and night. It's an understanding that's not demanding. It's unbreakable, try as you might. So leave behind the undefined. Step boldly into the light, where one of you knows everything and the other is always right. And I include one of my drawings with that poem of me in garter belts and high heels as the angel on a Christmas tree. And what does the caption say? It says, well, anyway.
Probably best you don't know. You can't read it.
They just beep everything, so. Well, that's all I. What would you like to add to my wisdom there, dear?
If you're going to get married, oh Lord, don't make any promises.
That's right.
Don't make any promises ever, because everything changes. And if you get married early with someone, try to find someone who makes you uncomfortable, because Lon's always made me uncomfortable. And from day one, and you learn a lot of stuff that way, and half of it pleasant and half of it very unpleasant. But it's going to be that way anyway. So
there you have it. Try not to get to know each other very well, but
I don't like that part. Sorry, that's because Lon doesn't want me to know anything about him. Or listen to me.
But what you do know, make sure it makes you uncomfortable.
That's right. I guarantee. Yes.
And so
the laugh part is good though, because I definitely am I laugh at every dumb thing he says. The dumber it is, the more I laugh at it. Is that not true?
That's true.
Yes. Yes.
Especially when I
lie
and tell you that.
No, don't go there. Jiminy Cricket was married to Lana Turner.
said
he lies to me constantly. I believe he'll have a perfectly straight face and lie to me. He has lied to me from the very beginning to this week. Said something. He'll lie. And he pulls it off perfectly, and every time, no matter how dumb it is, you can't believe the stuff I will believe. Only sometimes for a half a second, but
you don't believe it for very long.
No, I don't believe it for long, but it's long enough for me to go, oh God, he did it again.
I told her that Cliff Arquette,
nobody's gonna know who these people
the
are.
voice of Jiminy Cricket
Nobody knows who
in
Jiminy
Pinocchio, the guy that sang "When You Wish Upon a Star," and he played the voice of Jiminy Cricket, and his name was Ukulele Ike. And we were talking about Ukulele Ike, and I said, and he was married to Lana Turner for 6 months in 1946.
And I said, he said, this is quickly as he did right now. Well, I'm sure that's all anybody, as long as anybody could stand there, being married to Lana Turner. And then I realized that he was totally lying to me right after that came out. Anyway, it's not that funny to anybody who has no idea, who can't picture these two.
You would have had to have been there. Okay. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Good night and happy anniversary to everyone else out there. Whatever kind of anniversary it is.
Do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law.
Love is the law, love under will.